You wake up one morning with a knot in your stomach, thinking, what new symptom would I notice today? And you look at that, tiny little spot on your left hand that you noticed 3 days ago, and you're worried it might be something, dangerous. So you decide to look at it again. And lo and behold, it's still there. And that triggers your anxiety again for the day. So you go on Google and you start looking and you start searching. Again, you ask ChatGPT and it gives you a list of different kinds of things that it could be. Most probably, it's something benign, but your mind often wonders on, hey, what about that last one, the least probable one that doesn't look benign, that looks something dangerous? So you decide to call your doctor again and think, okay, you know what? I'm going to just see what he has to say for a second time. And you go to him, and lo and behold, he says the same thing. Nothing to worry about. But there's this noise at the back of your head always going, what if he's wrong? What if he's just dismissing this as anxiety? What if he isn't taking me seriously? So you ask for a second opinion, and the same thing comes around. What to do in the situation? Your life is getting wrecked. You can't focus on anything. You're making plans about what to do, when you'd get finally diagnosed with something dangerous. You're signing up for expensive insurance plans. You're signing up for different types of things. You're making your move based on the nicest hospital you can find in a particular spot. And it just keeps on going on and on. What to do? Welcome to living with health anxiety. It starts something small, a buzz under your skin, a tiny ache, a weird bump. You don't really know when, it was there. You just noticed it one day and your brain lights up like a siren tuck, Remember that article that you saw about it? Remember that TV episode that I watched about Dr. Oz talking about this thing? I knew a guy who died from something like that. Your brain goes, and then you tell yourself, hey, look, don't spiral. Let me just Google it just to make sure that this isn't something serious and I shouldn't have to plan around this. So you scan the spot, you press, you compare, you press again, and now it's sore. And proof, your mind says, oh my God, why is it doing that? Perhaps this is something serious. And your brain panics because that's just how anxiety works. So you start to think about reasons why it might be there. Why do you have that spot? You start to think, maybe the cause is that flight that I took. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. But again, that what if at the back of your head starts to go, what if it isn't? What if it's something really serious? And that's the voice that sticks into your head. And you start to ruminate. And you look at your partner and say, yeah, I don't know what this is. I just my doctor says that's okay, but I don't know. What if he's not taking me seriously? What if this is it for me? Nothing is working out for me in my life. What if this is what does me? So you plan phone calls. You call your mom, you call your friend, you just talk to them about it because you feel helpless. You scroll through forums, searching for a story that is exactly like yours, the rare one, the outlier, the one that ends badly. Your chest starts to flutter and, palpitations, right? And then you say it a few times and it becomes a verdict. And on it goes. You start to draft a message to your boss. Hey, if anything happens, here's the file. You start to imagine a future that stops at the middle of your Tuesdays, a reminder to check the spot right now. You keep checking it again and again for weeks and see if anything is different this time that might indicate some sort of certainty that isn't there. And that's the key word here. You start looking for certainty. You start to bargain with the universe. You start to pray. Hey, I'm going to eat better. I'm going to eat healthier now. I'll be kinder. I'll delete this app. Um, just let it be nothing. That's all I ask. So you Google one more time in search of that certainty, not serious cause of, as if the internet can, absolve you, I guess. You replay the symptoms like a playlist. You check, you compare, you rate, you file, you repeat. You set a reminder to check the spot later just to be sure, just to make sure, if there's anything different, you cancel plans because you're behind on your work, quote unquote. But, you're just panicking to be real. You pre grieve your own life. The things you'll miss feel brighter, cooler, sun on a cup, laughter in the kitchen, right? You picture telling people their faces, what they think, the way they'll say, hey, look, you're strong. Don't worry about it. It's likely nothing. Now, all of a sudden, after 3 weeks, that spot goes away. A relief walks in, but the quiet is suspicious. So you look again, and this time you notice something else. And there you go, spiraling again. And you promise to yourself, look, I'll just stop after this. This is ridiculous. And you check yourself in the mirror. You take pictures of it. You take pictures of it every day and compare against each other to see if there's any difference. You go to bed, night falls in and fear sets in. Fear gets louder. You lie in bed, auditioning for your future, tests, results, and treatment of all those things for your condition, potential condition, right? Everything that you cannot control is bearing your name tag. You tell yourself, hey, I am not being dramatic. I'm preparing. This is due diligence. This is being responsible. And when someone says, hey, you're fine, they don't really know the paperwork you're doing in your head. They don't really know that certainty is the thing that you crave and the thing you probably cannot afford. Because the only thing that is certain is nothing is certain. And look, if you're listening to this and nodding, you already know the doom doesn't need the proof, it only needs the spark. One tiny sensation, one thought, one click, and suddenly you're 3 funerals ahead of your life. Welcome to living with health anxiety.